Whimpering Wastes, or wuwa for short, has been an absolute nightmare in Whimpering Wastes ever since release, and while there's been some improvement over the past few months, there are still several issues that needs to be fixed, including enemies moving away from you without even landing hits on them, enemies like Rage Against the Statue constantly moving away from you when dealing consecutive hits type of damage, and some enemies also like to take their time before they spawn in, which can drive you insane, especially if you're free to play and might not have premium characters fit for this endgame mode. But not to worry, because you clicked on this video and I've got you covered. In my previous guide video on Whimpering Wastes, the focus was pretty much on characters like Jian and Camellia, who have insane area of effects capabilities, or AoE for short, perfectly suited for Whimpering Wastes. So in today's video, the focus will be on free-to-play teams and strategies that you need to beat wuwa whenever it resets by abusing some exploits that I found related to some tokens to do insane amounts of AoE damage. I'll also add a showcase of my runs in the Infinite Torrent to help you guys out if you want to see how I rotate my team. If you enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe because it helps me out more than you know. Before we proceed any further, there's something that I wish to address. From my last video on free-to-play teams that you can use to beat the Tower of Adversity, there were quite a few comments regarding my S6 F2P 4-star characters, where others insist that it's not an accurate representation of what F2P can actually have on their account, which came as a surprise to me because I had S6 Sanwa, S6 Alto, and even S6 Yang Yang even before I started spending money on wuwa. So to prevent any further confusion, let me provide some clarification since this is an F2P related video. You can 100% get S6 on your free-to-play 4-star characters without spending money on the game. While it's true that dolphins and whales can get them more easily due to Lunite purchases, as a free-to-play player, time is your exchange currency, so you need to at least play the game daily by doing your quest quickly and punch out if you don't have enough time on your hand. Saving and wishing for your favorite 5 stars and limited time weapons also gives you a chance to obtain copies of 4-star characters. The same applies to wishing on the standard character banner and standard weapon banners with the lustrous ties that you mostly get for free from Kuro Games, or just getting 100% on all the maps that have been released in the game so far. So by the time that you get to a union level that allows you to level up your characters to level 90, and you've had enough time to invest resources into getting cracked echoes, which are recommended for endgame, there's a high chance that you'll have multiple copies or even S6 of free-to-play units in the game. So it's not a matter of spending money on the game, but rather how long you've been grinding in wuwa. And keep in mind that I started on day 1. Also keep in mind that the purpose of my free-to-play videos is to assess the performance of free-to-play units in the game, whether they've been power creeped by the introduction of new content or not, and lastly offer some insights on some insane free-to-play team comps for endgame that you might be sleeping on, which can be very beneficial if you only focus on pulling for characters you enjoy rather than meta-focused characters which might not do well in Whimpering Wastes. And even if you're a dolphin or a whale, there are some few tricks that I'll provide in this video that can massively increase the number of points that you can get in wuwa. So regardless of the type of account that you have, everyone will be able to learn something from this video. With that out of the way, let's get into the free-to-play team compositions. As you can see right here, I was able to get 5,100 points in the Infinite Torrent with my Havoc Rover and Zhang Liao team. So let's begin with why this team works surprisingly well, starting with the Havoc Rover team. In terms of actual DPS, Zhang Liao is much stronger than Havoc Rover, which is why we use Verena as the healer and buffer in this team due to her better buffing capabilities compared to Baija to increase the damage Havoc Rover can output while she's on the field. Yang Yang is on this team mainly due to her crowd control capabilities and her outro buff that regenerates resonance energy for Havoc Rover, so that we can consistently use her liberation every rotation without wasting time. What this team lacks is large area of effect capabilities, but we can solve this by taking advantage of some tokens, which I'll go over in detail at the token section of this video. You also need to keep in mind of proper positioning when playing this team composition. Havoc Rover does not have a large area of effect, so you always need to make sure that you have majority of the enemies in front of you before using your liberation to send many of them to the afterlife. The second team includes Zhang Liao, Sanhua, and Baija. My apologies if you missed the Moonlit Festival event where we got Zhang Liao for free. But on the bright side, the anniversary is coming up very soon, so there's a good chance that we'll have some old units that was introduced in version 1.0 for free. But this is a speculation at this point, so take this with a grain of salt. Sanhua is not really the best buffer for Zhang Liao, but this is a free-to-play guide, so that's what we have to work with. However, Sanhua's incredibly fast concerto energy regeneration helps in getting buffs from moonlit clouds pretty quickly, even if you don't have S6 Sanhua. Baizha is here mainly to grant the rejuvenating glow buff to the entire team, but for her passive that drops an orb on the ground, which increases the attack for any resonator that picks it up. Don't pay too much attention to it because it can waste time. Positioning also comes into play here, even when using Zhang Liao. Similar to Havoc Rover, you need to position yourself in such a way that all the enemies are in front of you before using his liberation, which will do damage to all of them at once since it hits pretty hard. Now let's get into the tokens. The golden tokens are mostly reserved for limited time characters that are being featured on the current banner, like this one right here for example, that grants damage amplification effect when the resonator is in midair, which is perfectly suited for Brand, so your focus should not be on the golden tokens. However, there are some of them that can be a bit versatile, like this one right here, which is perfect for liberation-focused damage dealers like Camouflage and Zhang Liao. But what if I told you that some purple tokens are actually much stronger than how they appear on the surface? And since the 4-star tokens remain unchanged with every reset, per what we've seen so far, it's always guaranteed for you to abuse, use them. The first one we're going to take a look at is the Plunderous Captain Seal. It's suitable for offense and defense since it regenerates HP every second and deals AoE electro damage on the Sith HP recovery, as you guys can see right here, working as expected. So I decided to mess around a little bit by using echoes that regenerates HP, like the Cruise Wing for example, hoping that it'll make the lightning hits much faster while the HP restoration for Cruise Wing was in effect, and that's when I realized something very strange. You can see in this footage that the lightning is hitting more frequently than the previous showcase without summoning Cruise Wing. But if you look at it carefully, we actually have two types of lightning damage. One deals a much larger damage on crit, and the other one deals a small amount of damage upon crit. And keep in mind that this is happening even after the Cruise Wing Echo has finished its healing of up to 4 times. The one that deals high damage happens at intervals of 7 seconds, just like the token says, and I'm not sure if it scales on crit of the active character because Verena was critting more often with just 14% crit rate, and the other one that deals low damage happens at intervals of 4 seconds, which I'm certain scales off crit stats of the active character on the field because Verena was barely critting any of them. My theory is that the Cruise Wing healing is responsible for the second lightning strike, which has a lower damage, and since it happens at intervals of 4 seconds, you can do some pretty decent AoE damage along with the actual lightning strike damage from the token. This can also be a form of exploit in the game, but I hope Kurogame does not remove this if that's the case, because it made my runs much more easier, especially if you're using characters that do not have large AoE for doing damage. So all you need to do is to just slap one Cruise Wing in the main slot of your healer like Verena and Baizha while using the Plunderous Captain Seal, and you're good to go. But since you only get unlimited token uses in the Infinite Torrent, which is the best place to use the Plunderous Captain Seal, we need to talk about how to prioritize your tokens in challenge level 9, 10, and 11. For challenge 9, I always use the Revelous Captain Seal since it's the least powerful on my priority list. The damage amplification is good, but keep in mind that with wuwa, it's not about how big of a damage you do, but rather how consistent you can do decent damage since we're dealing with mob type enemies that don't have that much HP. For challenge level 10, I mostly use the Pilgrim's Captain Seal, which is pretty good for characters that depend on their liberation to do damage. The best thing about this token is that if you're using a character like Zhang Liao, you can use your liberation to nuke the enemies again before you end your rotation by swapping off, since it's more focused on regenerating resonance energy for your team and reduces your liberation cooldown. But since the new 5-star token synergizes well with Zhang Liao, I use that instead and use the Plunderous Captain Seal for the Havoc Rover team. For challenge 11, your priority is to use the Plunderous Captain Seal for both teams if you use the Pilgrim's Captain Seal in challenge level 10, but since the new 5-star token is good for Zhang Liao, I use the same combination as I did with challenge level 10. And lastly, be sure to take note of the enemy resistances on each floor and don't worry too much about the environmental report buffs for both floors of the challenge. Here's the builds for the free-to-play teams and a showcase in the Infinite Torrent so that you guys will know exactly how I rotate my team. Alright, here we go. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. With this guide in mind, you should be able to clear any Whimpering Wastes resets, and if you're having any challenges, hop in our community Discord where there are players ready to assist you. Link will be in the channel description. If YouTube got it right, you should like this video that pops up on your screen, so be sure to give it a watch. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.